Hey everyone, welcome back. Just before we start, it's a fun idea if you type in where you're listening from. Thanks, like and subscribe, and let's get this started. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning. The darkness of the room feels heavy, pressing down on me, matching the weight in my chest. She's asleep beside me, or at least pretending to be. I can hear her breathing, slow and steady, as if she's at peace, but I know better. I've known for a while now. It started small, just a feeling, a slight change in her tone, a distracted look in her eyes, the way she smiled at her phone more than she smiled at me. At first, I brushed it off. We've been married for 10 years and things naturally shift. But then I saw the texts. A name I didn't recognize, messages she quickly deleted when she thought I wasn't looking. My gut churned, but I stayed silent, waiting for more. Tonight, she dropped the bombshell. She wants to open our marriage, just for this one vacation, she says, a chance to explore, to try something new. She's excited, almost giddy as she talks about it. My heart pounds in my chest, anger and betrayal surging through me, but I don't let it show. I've always been good at keeping my emotions in check, a skill honed through years in business. So I nod, smile even, and agree. Her relief is palpable, and she reaches out to touch me, her hand warm against my skin. But there's a distance between us now, a chasm that her words have carved. I can feel it, like an invisible barrier, and it takes everything in me not to recoil from her touch. She doesn't notice, too wrapped up in her own plans. As she drifts off to sleep, I lie there, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. The bedroom feels cold, despite the warmth of the summer night. I listen to the faint hum of the air conditioner, the distant sounds of the city outside, but all I can think about is her. Her and this so-called friend she's going to see. I'm a successful man. I've built a life for us, provided everything she could ever want. And this is how she repays me? By asking for permission to cheat? The thought makes my blood boil, but I force myself to stay calm. I can't afford to lose control now. Not when I need to think clearly. I'm already planning my move. I won't let her get away with this. She thinks she's clever, but I'm always one step ahead. I've been suspicious for too long to let this slide. She has no idea what's coming. I close my eyes, forcing myself to breathe, to stay calm. Everything seems normal on the surface, but I know that by agreeing to her plan, I've set something in motion. Something she won't see coming until it's too late. This will be the last time she ever deceives me, and when she returns, she'll find out just how wrong she was to think she could play me. The moment she leaves for the airport, I go into action. The door clicks shut behind her, and I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I'm alone in the house now, and the silence is deafening. For a second, I just stand there, taking it all in, feeling the tension in my shoulders begin to melt away. But it doesn't last. The anger that's been simmering beneath the surface starts to bubble up again, and I have to force myself to stay calm. There's work to do, and I need to keep a clear head. I grab my phone and make the first call. The private investigator picks up on the second ring, as if he's been waiting. We've talked a few times already, and he knows what to do. He's efficient, discreet, and has a reputation for getting results. I give him the details of her flight, the hotel she'll be staying at, and the man's name. Her lover, though she doesn't know I know. The investigator asks a few questions, and I answer them calmly, methodically, as if I'm discussing a business deal. In a way, I am. This is just another transaction, another problem to solve. Once the call is done, I feel a strange sense of relief. I've taken the first step, set things in motion. Now I just have to wait. The waiting is the hardest part. Every hour that passes feels like an eternity. I go through the motions of my day, but my mind is elsewhere, always drifting back to her. What is she doing right now? Is she with him? My chest tightens at the thought, but I push it aside. I can't afford to get emotional, not yet. 3 days later, the investigator sends me the first batch of evidence, photos, texts, even a short video. I sit at my desk staring at my computer screen, the images burning into my mind. There she is, smiling in a way I haven't seen in years. She's in his arms, laughing, her face flushed with happiness. They look like they're in love. It makes me sick. The texts are worse. The way she talks to him, the things she says, it's like she's a different person. She's warm, affectionate, playful. She talks about their future, about the life they'll have together. She tells him she loves him. My hands clench into fists, and I feel a cold fury settle in my gut. But I don't lose control. Not yet. The video is short, but it's enough. They're in a hotel room, the one I booked for her, and she's undressing him, laughing as she does. It's intimate, raw, and I can't watch it for more than a few seconds before I have to look away. But it's all I need. The evidence is overwhelming, undeniable. I finally have proof. I could confront her now, send her the photos, the texts, the video, but that would be too easy, too quick. I want her to feel the same pain she's put me through. I want her to suffer. So I start planning, meticulously laying out each step, thinking through every detail. This has to be perfect. I won't get another chance. I clear out the house. It's almost therapeutic in a way. Room by room, I pack up everything, leaving the walls bare, the closets empty. I take down the photos of us together, the ones that once showed a happy couple. I box up her clothes, her shoes, her jewelry, everything she values. I don't destroy anything. I want her to see it all, to know that I've taken it away from her. I want her to feel the emptiness when she walks in, to realize that her life as she knew it is over. But the most important part is the bedroom. I save that for last. I take my time, making sure everything is just right. I plaster the walls with the photos the investigator sent me, hundreds of them, covering every inch, each one a reminder of her betrayal. And above the bed I hang the sign, Cheating 403. It's the room number of the hotel where she met him, the place where she destroyed our marriage. It's the last thing she'll see when she walks in, and it will be the final nail in the coffin. I finish just before she's due to come home. I sit in the living room, the only room I've left untouched, and wait. My heart is pounding, but I force myself to stay calm. I need to see her reaction, to watch as everything she's built crumbles around her. The door opens, and I hear her footsteps in the hallway. She calls out my name, her voice bright and cheerful, as if nothing is wrong. I don't respond. I just sit there waiting. She walks into the living room, and her smile falters when she sees me. There's a moment of confusion, and then she notices the boxes, the empty walls. Her eyes widen, and she starts to say something, but I hold up a hand to stop her. Go to the bedroom, I say, my voice cold and detached. She hesitates, but something in my expression must tell her that I'm serious because she turns and walks down the hallway. I stand up and follow her, keeping a few steps behind. When she opens the bedroom door, she freezes. I watch as the color drains from her face, as her hands start to shake. She takes a step back and then another, as if she can't believe what she's seeing. Her mouth opens, but no sound comes out. I don't say anything. I just watch her, waiting for the moment when it finally sinks in. She turns to me, her eyes wide with panic. "What is this?" she whispers, her voice trembling. "You know exactly what it is," I reply, my tone icy. "You have 3 hours to pack your things and get out." She stares at me, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. "But why? We can talk about this. We can—" "No," I cut her off, my voice firm. "There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice, and now you have to live with it." She collapses onto the bed, her body shaking with sobs. I watch her for a moment, feeling a twisted sense of satisfaction. This is what she deserves. This is the price she has to pay for betraying me. I turn and walk out of the room, leaving her there with her guilt and her tears. I don't look back. I don't need to. I know she's broken, just like she broke me. As I reach the front door, I pull out my phone and dial her number. She answers on the first ring, her voice desperate. "Please, we can fix this," she begs. "I love you. I didn't mean to." 3 hours, I say, cutting her off. "If you're not out by then, I'll make sure everyone knows what you've done." I hang up before she can respond, my heart pounding in my chest. I stand there for a moment, letting the reality of what I've done sink in. There's a part of me that feels triumphant, vindicated, but there's another part that feels empty, as if I've lost something that I can never get back. I shake off the thought and walk out of the house, closing the door behind me. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the street. I get into my car and drive away, not sure where I'm going, but knowing I can't stay here. As I drive, I think about what comes next. The divorce will be messy, but I'm prepared for that. I've been careful, making sure all the legal documents are in order. She won't get anything from me. I'll make sure of that. But it's not just about the money. It's about making sure she knows that I'm in control, that she can't hurt me anymore. But as the city lights blur past, I can't shake the feeling that something is missing. I've won, haven't I? So why do I feel like I've lost? I pull into a parking lot and just sit there, the engine idling. The reality of what I've done weighs heavily on me, and for the first time I feel a pang of doubt. Did I go too far? Did I destroy something that could have been saved? I don't have an answer, and I'm not sure I ever will. All I know is that I can't go back. The past is behind me, and all that's left is the fallout. I turn off the engine and sit in the silence, staring out at the darkening sky. The satisfaction I felt just moments ago is slipping away, replaced by something colder, emptier. I've made my move, played my hand. Now I have to live with the consequences, and so does she. She tries to call me the next day. My phone buzzes incessantly, her name flashing on the screen, but I don't pick up. Each ring is a small victory, a reminder that she's finally feeling the consequences of her actions. I ignore her calls, letting them go to voicemail, knowing it'll drive her mad. She texts me too, pleading messages that swing between desperation and anger. I read each one, a cold smile tugging at my lips, but I don't respond. She's panicking, and that's exactly where I want her. By noon, the calls stop. For a moment, I wonder if she's given up. But then the doorbell rings. I check the security camera and see her standing outside, looking disheveled and broken. Her hair is a mess, her makeup smeared from tears. She's wearing the same clothes from the night before, clutching a small suitcase like a lifeline. My heart hardens at the sight. This is what she wanted, isn't it? Freedom, an open marriage. She just didn't realize what that would cost. I watch her through the camera, but I don't let her in. She rings the bell again, then pounds on the door, her voice cracking as she calls out my name. Please, let me in. We need to talk. There's a rawness in her voice, but I stay put, just out of her view, silent. Eventually she gives up, sinking to the ground, her back against the door. I turn away, leaving her there. Let her feel what it's like to be shut out, to be unwanted. An hour later, I check the camera again. She's gone, but she's left the suitcase by the door. I wait a few more minutes, then step outside. The air is cool and the sky is overcast, matching my mood. I open the suitcase, expecting some pathetic attempt at reconciliation, a letter maybe, or something sentimental. Instead, I find the remnants of her life, clothes hastily thrown together, a few personal items, and her wedding ring. The sight of it, nestled on top of her things, stirs something in me, but I push it down. She's trying to manipulate me, playing the victim. I won't fall for it. I take the suitcase inside, but I don't touch the ring. I leave it there, a symbol of what's been shattered. I place the suitcase in the corner of the living room and turn my attention to more pressing matters. There's still work to be done, more steps in this game we're playing. I'm not finished with her yet. That night, I have trouble sleeping. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, just like I did before this all started. But now the silence is oppressive. The house feels too empty, too cold. I can't shake the image of her outside, broken and alone. For a moment, I wonder if I've gone too far. But then, I remember the texts, the photos, the video of her with him, and the doubt vanishes. She deserves this. The next morning, I make another call. This time, it's to my lawyer. I've already set the wheels in motion, but now it's time to take the next step. I instruct him to freeze all our joint accounts, leaving her with nothing. She'll find out soon enough, and when she does, the reality of her situation will hit her like a freight train. She won't be able to pay for a hotel or food or anything else. She'll be completely dependent on me, or she would be if I had any intention of helping her. By midday, she calls again. This time, her voice is different, smaller, more desperate. "Please," she whispers into the voicemail. "I don't know what to do. I can't access my money. I need help." I listen to the message twice, savoring the fear in her voice. She's realizing how deep she's sunk, how alone she really is. But I still don't respond. I'm not finished yet. There's one more thing I need to do, something that will seal her fate. The divorce papers arrived the next day. I made sure to include everything: the infidelity clause, the division of assets, the terms that leave her with nothing. It's airtight, impossible to contest. I've spent the last few days gathering all the evidence, making sure every detail is documented. She won't have a leg to stand on. I want her to see that there's no escape, no way out. This is her punishment. I send the papers to her via courier, knowing she's probably crashing at a friend's place, or maybe even trying to stay with her lover. The thought of her turning to him for comfort, for support, makes my blood boil. But I remind myself that I've already taken care of that. Sure enough, later that day, she tries to call him. I know because I've been keeping tabs on him too. I paid the investigator to dig deeper, to find out everything there is to know about the man who thinks he can take my wife. What I found didn't surprise me. He's a coward, a man with a history of cheating and running away when things get tough. The investigator even managed to snap a few photos of him with another woman, a fact I plan to use to my advantage. When she calls him, he doesn't pick up. He's smart enough to know that getting involved now could ruin him. I made sure he got the message: stay away from her or face the consequences. So he ignores her, leaving her even more isolated, even more desperate. By the time she realizes she's truly on her own, it's too late. The papers have been delivered, and she's left with nothing but the cold, hard truth. Her world is crumbling, and there's no one left to help her. That evening, as I sit in my office, my phone buzzes with a new message. It's from her, of course, but this time, there's no pleading, no anger. Just one word: why? I stare at the message for a long time, feeling something twist in my gut. The satisfaction I expected to feel isn't there. Instead, there's just an emptiness, a hollow ache that I can't quite place. I've won, haven't I? She's broken, just like I wanted. But the victory feels incomplete. I don't respond to her message. I don't know what I would say. Instead, I close my eyes and try to focus on the endgame. I've come this far, and there's no turning back now. She has to know that I'm serious, that I won't be swayed by her tears or her questions. The next day, she shows up at my office. I'm in the middle of a meeting when the receptionist calls to let me know. My first instinct is to turn her away, to make her wait. But then I change my mind. I want to see her, to look her in the eye and watch her crumble. So, I tell the receptionist to send her in. When she walks through the door, she looks even worse than before. Her clothes are wrinkled, her hair a mess, and there's a wildness in her eyes that wasn't there before. She's on the edge, and I can see it. I dismiss the meeting with a wave of my hand, my colleagues filing out of the room without a word. They know better than to question me. Once we're alone, I lean back in my chair, watching her carefully. She doesn't sit down. Instead, she stands there trembling, clutching the divorce papers in her hand. "Why are you doing this?" she asks, her voice barely a whisper. "We were happy, weren't we?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Were we? You threw away our marriage the moment you decided to spread your legs for another man." She flinches at my words, tears welling up in her eyes. "I made a mistake. I was lost. But we can fix this. We can start over." I shake my head slowly. "There's nothing left to fix. You broke it beyond repair. Now you have to live with the consequences." She takes a step forward, her eyes pleading. "Please, I'm begging you. Don't do this. I'll sign the papers. I'll give you whatever you want. Just don't leave me like this. For a moment, I almost waver. I see the woman I fell in love with, the one who used to light up my world. But then I remember the betrayal, the lies, the way she looked at him, and my resolve hardens. I stand up, towering over her, my voice cold as ice. You should have thought about that before you betrayed me. Now get out of my office. She stares at me, broken and defeated. Finally, she turns and walks out, her shoulders slumped in defeat. I watch her go, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. I've won. She's lost. But why doesn't it feel like enough? As she leaves, I sit back down, the silence of the office pressing in on me. The thrill of revenge has faded, replaced by a gnawing emptiness that I can't shake. I've destroyed her, just like I planned. But in the process, I've destroyed something in myself too. The next few days are a blur. She doesn't contact me again, and I assume she's finally accepted her fate. I try to throw myself into my work, to focus on anything but the hollow ache that's settled in my chest. But it's no use. The satisfaction I thought I'd feel is slipping away, leaving behind a bitter taste. Then one evening, just as I'm about to leave the office, I get a call from my lawyer. He sounds urgent, his tone tense. "We have a problem," he says, his words sending a chill down my spine. "What is it?" I ask, my heart pounding. "She's filed a counter lawsuit," he says, claiming emotional abuse, manipulation, and intentional infliction of distress. She's got a good lawyer, and they're going after everything. I grip the phone tightly, anger flaring up inside me. She can't do that. I have all the evidence. She's the one who cheated. "Yes," my lawyer says carefully, "but they're arguing that your actions were premeditated, that you've been setting this up for months. They have witnesses, texts, even video surveillance." I feel the ground shift beneath me, the control I've held so tightly slipping away. "This isn't over," I say, my voice low and dangerous. "I'm not letting her win." But as I hang up the phone, I can't shake the feeling that the tables are turning. She's found a way to fight back, and the game is far from over. For the first time, I feel a flicker of fear. She's desperate, cornered, and that makes her dangerous. I underestimated her once, but I won't make that mistake again. I need to regroup to find a way to stay one step ahead. But the emptiness inside me is growing, the thrill of revenge fading into something darker, more corrosive. I've started a war, and now I'm not sure I have the strength to see it through. As I stare out at the city lights, I wonder if this was worth it, if any of it was worth it. But there's no turning back now. The game is on, and I have to finish what I started, even if it destroys us both. She storms into my office, her face flushed with anger, eyes wild. For a moment, I'm taken aback by the intensity in her gaze. This isn't the same broken woman who begged me for forgiveness just days ago. There's a fire in her now, something I didn't anticipate. She slams the door behind her, the sound echoing in the quiet room. "Do you think you can just destroy me and walk away?" Her voice trembles with fury, her fists clenched at her sides. She's shaking, but not with fear. She's pushed to the edge, and I can see it in the way she holds herself, every muscle tense, ready to fight. I lean back in my chair, crossing my arms. I'm not about to let her see that she's gotten under my skin. "I'm not the one who destroyed anything," I say calmly, my voice even. "You did that all on your own." She takes a step closer, her eyes narrowing. "You think you're so smart, don't you? So calculated. But you've made a mistake." I arch an eyebrow, intrigued despite myself. "What mistake?" She pulls out her phone, the screen lighting up as she swipes through her photos. She finds what she's looking for and thrusts the phone in my face. "This!" It's a video taken from a security camera. The angle is grainy, the footage a bit distorted, but it's clear enough. It shows me talking to the private investigator, handing over the envelope filled with cash, and giving him instructions. My heart skips a beat, but I keep my expression neutral. "That's not what you think it is," I say, trying to sound convincing. "Save it," she snaps. "You've been planning this for months, setting me up, collecting evidence, manipulating everything, and now I have proof. I stand up slowly, my mind racing. She's right. This video could ruin everything. If she shows it to the judge, it'll look like I orchestrated the whole thing, like I was just waiting for her to slip up so I could pounce. It'll undermine everything I've done, everything I've worked for, but I can't let her see that I'm rattled. Even if you do have proof, it doesn't change what you did, I say, stepping closer to her, closing the distance between us. You cheated. You betrayed me. And now you're paying the price. She doesn't back down. You think I'm going to let you get away with this? You've taken everything from me. My home, my money, my life. But I'm not done fighting. I can feel the tension between us, a crackling energy that's impossible to ignore. We're standing so close now that I can see the faint lines around her eyes, the way her chest rises and falls with each breath. There's a part of me, a dark, twisted part, that admires her for this, for not giving up, for fighting back. It's almost arousing. I reach out, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. She flinches at my touch but doesn't move away. I can see the confusion in her eyes, the conflicting emotions battling within her. She hates me, but there's something else there too, something that hasn't quite died. You're not done fighting, I repeat, my voice low, almost a whisper. But you don't have a choice. You can't win. She swallows hard, her eyes locked on mine. I'll find a way, she says, but her voice is weaker now, less certain. She's losing her resolve and I can feel it. Before I can stop myself, I close the remaining distance between us and press my lips to hers. It's a brutal, desperate kiss, filled with all the anger and frustration we've both been carrying. For a moment, she kisses me back, her hands clutching my shirt, pulling me closer. But then she pushes me away, her breath ragged, her eyes wide with shock. No, she whispers, shaking her head. I can't. But there's a flicker of something in her gaze, something that tells me she's not as sure as she wants to be. I take a step back, giving her space, my mind racing. This wasn't part of the plan. I was supposed to crush her, to leave her with nothing. But now, standing here with her, I feel that same emptiness creeping in again, that hollow ache that nothing seems to fill. I'm filing for full custody, she says suddenly, her voice stronger now. You won't take my children from me. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. We've both avoided talking about the kids throughout all of this, like some unspoken agreement to keep them out of the crossfire. But now she's bringing them into it, and I know she's serious. She'll use them as leverage, as a weapon against me, and I can't let that happen. They're my children too, I say, my voice cold. You really want to drag them into this? You left me no choice, she snaps. You've turned everyone against me. You've taken everything, but I won't let you take them. I'll fight you for them. The determination in her voice sends a chill down my spine. She's not bluffing. She's willing to go to war over this, and I realize with a sinking feeling that I might have pushed her too far. The thought of losing my kids, of them being raised by someone else, is too much to bear. I have to find a way to stop this before it spirals out of control. What do you want? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. She hesitates, her eyes narrowing as she studies me. I want you to back off. Drop the divorce, unfreeze the accounts, and let me have the house. And I want shared custody at least. I shake my head. That's not going to happen. Then you'll lose them, she says, her voice filled with venom. You'll lose everything. I feel the rage boiling up inside me, but I force it down. I can't afford to lose control now. I'm not going to let you win, I say through gritted teeth. This isn't about winning, she snaps. It's about surviving. And I'm not going down without a fight. There's a moment of silence as we stare each other down, the tension between us almost unbearable. I don't know how we got here, how things spiraled so far out of control. But there's no turning back now. We're both in too deep, and the only way out is through. Finally, she turns and walks out of the office, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. I watch her go, my heart pounding in my chest. I should feel triumphant, but all I feel is a gnawing sense of dread. She's not going to back down, and now she's coming after the one thing I can't afford to lose. That night, I barely sleep. My mind is racing, trying to figure out my next move. She's got the video, she's got the kids as leverage, and now she's backed me into a corner. I've always been the one in control, the one calling the shots. But now, for the first time, I feel like I'm the one on the defensive. The next day, I meet with my lawyer. He's concerned, and for good reason. The video is damning, and if it gets in front of a judge, it could seriously hurt my case. He advises me to settle, to try and work out a deal before things get any worse. But I'm not ready to give up yet. I can't let her win, not after everything she's done. We need to find something on her, I say, my voice firm. Something that'll tip the scales back in my favor. He nods, though I can see the doubt in his eyes. I'll see what I can do, he says, but there's no guarantee in his tone. We're running out of options, and we both know it. As I leave his office, my mind is racing. I need to find a way to turn this around, to regain the upper hand. But every move I make seems to push her further away, to drive her deeper into this fight. And the more I push, the more I realize that I'm losing something far more important than this battle. The next few days are a blur of meetings with lawyers, strategizing, trying to find a way to get ahead. But she's relentless, and every time I think I've found an opening, she closes it off. She's smarter than I gave her credit for, and it's starting to scare me. I get a call from one of her friends, someone who used to be close to both of us. She's concerned, worried about what this is doing to the kids. She tells me that they've been asking questions, that they're scared and confused. It's like a knife to the heart. I've been so focused on winning, on punishing her, that I've lost sight of what really matters. I hang up the phone and stare out the window, the weight of everything pressing down on me. The kids. I've been so blinded by my anger, by my need for revenge, that I've let them get caught in the crossfire. And now I'm starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, I've gone too far. That evening, I make a decision. I pick up the phone and call her. She answers on the first ring, her voice wary. "What do you want?" "We need to talk," I say, my voice flat. "About the kids." There's a pause, and I can hear her breathing on the other end of the line. "What about them?" "They don't deserve this," I say, struggling to keep my emotions in check. "We need to figure out a way to keep them out of it." She's silent for a long moment. When she finally speaks, her voice is softer, almost vulnerable. "I agree." I exhale, feeling a small sense of relief. It's not much, but it's a start. We talk for a while, negotiating, trying to find common ground. It's tense, and there's still a lot of anger between us. But we both know that we have to do this. For them. When we finally hang up, I feel a strange sense of calm. It's the first time in weeks that I don't feel like I'm drowning. Maybe it's because, for the first time, I'm not just thinking about myself. I'm thinking about them, about what's best for them. But even as I feel that calm settle in, there's a part of me that's still restless. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. She's still coming for me, still trying to take everything away. And I know that I can't let my guard down, not even for a second. The next morning, I get a text from her. It's simple, just a few words, but it sends a chill down my spine. "We need to meet. Tonight." I don't know what she has planned, but I know it's not going to be good. I feel the tension building again, that familiar sense of dread creeping in. But I can't back down now. I've come too far. That evening, I show up at the restaurant she picked. It's a quiet place, out of the way, the kind of spot where people go to have private conversations. She's already there when I arrive, sitting at a corner table, her hands clasped tightly together. I sit down across from her, my heart pounding in my chest. "What's this about?" She looks up at me, her eyes searching mine. "I want to end this." The words catch me off guard, and for a moment, I don't know what to say. "End this?" "All of it," she says, her voice tired. "The fighting, the revenge, the lawyers. It's tearing us apart, and it's destroying our kids." I can see the exhaustion in her eyes, the toll this has taken on her, and I know she's right. But there's a part of me that doesn't want to let go, a part of me that still wants to punish her, to make her pay for what she did. But then I think about the kids, about what this is doing to them, and I realize that I've already lost. Not the battle, but something far more important. I don't know if I can, I admit, my voice barely above a whisper. She reaches across the table, her hand brushing against mine. It's a small gesture, but it feels like a lifeline. We can't keep doing this, she says softly. We have to stop before there's nothing left. I stare at her hand, at the way it trembles slightly, and for the first time, I see the woman I used to love. The woman I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. She's still there, buried under all the hurt and anger, but she's there. Maybe it's time to let go, to stop fighting, to find a way to move forward, even if it's not together. I take a deep breath, the weight of my decision settling in. Okay, I say finally, my voice steady. Let's end this. I watch her rebuild from a distance. It's like observing a flower bloom in slow motion, each petal unfurling with deliberate care. She's different now, more determined, more focused. I hear through mutual contacts that she's found a new job, something steady but beneath her qualifications. It's not what she deserves, but it's a start. She's living in a small apartment, far from the life of comfort we once shared. I can't help but feel a pang of something, guilt maybe, as I picture her in that place. But it's quickly replaced by the cold satisfaction of knowing I brought her here. This was my plan, and it's working. Yet as the days turn into weeks, I find myself restless. The emptiness that settled in my chest after our last confrontation hasn't gone away. I expected to feel victorious, triumphant even, but there's no thrill in watching her struggle. Instead, there's a hollow void where my satisfaction should be. I tell myself it's just a phase, that I'll feel better once everything is finalized. But deep down, I know something's wrong. She files the counter lawsuit just as I expected. My lawyer calls me with the news, his tone grave. She's claiming emotional abuse, psychological manipulation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, he says. I can almost hear the worry in his voice. She has a strong case, given everything that's happened. I sit back in my chair, staring at the ceiling, the weight of his words pressing down on me. This is exactly what I feared. She's not going down without a fight, and she's taking the fight straight to me. What are our chances, I ask, keeping my voice steady. He hesitates. It's going to be tough. The video she has of you with the investigator is damaging. It shows premeditation, which could swing the judge's opinion in her favor. We'll need to be careful with how we proceed. I thank him and hang up, but the conversation leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. I knew this would get ugly, but I didn't anticipate feeling so uncertain. For the first time since this all began, I'm questioning whether I've gone too far. Whether the price of my revenge is more than I'm willing to pay. The next few weeks are a whirlwind of legal battles and strategy sessions. My lawyer advises me to settle, to avoid dragging this out any longer, but I can't bring myself to do it. Settling feels like admitting defeat, like letting her win after everything she's done. So I dig in my heels and prepare for war. But the war is taking its toll. I'm losing sleep, my mind constantly racing with thoughts of the case, of her, of everything that's at stake. My work is suffering, and my colleagues are starting to notice. I'm short-tempered, distracted, and the pressure is mounting. Every day feels like a battle, and I'm not sure how much longer I can keep this up. Then there are the kids. They've been caught in the crossfire, their lives turned upside down by our fight. They're too young to understand what's happening, but they can sense the tension, the anger that hangs over everything like a dark cloud. I see it in their eyes, in the way they look at me, confused and hurt. And that's the worst part. I've always been able to compartmentalize, to separate my personal life from everything else. But this is different. It's seeping into every aspect of my life, poisoning everything it touches. One night, after a particularly grueling day in court, I come home to an empty house. The silence is deafening, the emptiness suffocating. I pour myself a drink and sit on the couch, staring at nothing in particular. My thoughts drift to her, to the life we used to have, to the love we once shared. It feels like a lifetime ago, like it belonged to someone else entirely. I finish my drink and pour another, my mind wandering back to the day she asked for an open marriage. I can still see the look in her eyes, the excitement, the anticipation. It makes my blood boil, even now. But there's something else too, something I haven't allowed myself to feel until now. Regret. Regret for how things have turned out, for the choices we both made that led us here. I take a deep breath, trying to push the thoughts away, but they keep coming, relentless and unforgiving. What if we had handled things differently? What if I had confronted her right away instead of letting my anger fester? Would things be different now? Or were we always destined to end up like this, locked in a battle that's destroying us both? The next morning, I wake up with a pounding headache, the result of too much whiskey and too little sleep. I drag myself out of bed and head to the kitchen, where I find a stack of mail waiting for me. Most of it is junk, but one envelope catches my eye. It's from her lawyer. I open it with a sense of dread, expecting more bad news. But instead, it's a settlement offer. She's willing to drop the counter lawsuit if I agree to her terms. Joint custody, a fair division of assets, and an end to all legal proceedings. It's a reasonable offer, all things considered. And for a moment, I'm tempted to accept it, to put an end to all this madness. But then the anger flares up again, hot and blinding. Why should I give in now? Why should I let her walk away with anything after what she's done? I crumple the letter in my fist, the paper crackling under the pressure. She doesn't deserve my mercy. She doesn't deserve anything. I spend the rest of the day stewing, the offer gnawing at the back of my mind. It's not until late that night, as I'm lying in bed, that I start to question my decision. What if this is my way out, my chance to finally move on, to start over? But the thought of letting her win, of giving her even an inch, is too much to bear. I can't do it. I won't. The legal battle drags on for months, each side digging in deeper, refusing to give an inch. It's exhausting, mentally and physically. I'm worn down, and I can see that she is too. But neither of us is willing to back down. It's become a matter of pride now, a game of who can hold out the longest. One day, after a particularly brutal day in court, I run into her in the hallway. We both stop, staring at each other for a long moment. She looks tired, worn out, the strain of the last few months evident in every line of her face. But there's still that fire in her eyes, that determination that I both admire and resent. "What are we doing?" she asked quietly, her voice filled with exhaustion. It's not an accusation, just a simple, tired question. I don't have an answer. I don't know what we're doing anymore. All I know is that I'm tired too. Tired of fighting, tired of the anger, tired of everything. But I can't bring myself to say it. So I just shake my head and walk away, leaving her standing there in the hallway, alone. That night I can't sleep. Her words keep replaying in my mind, over and over again. What are we doing? It's a question I've been avoiding, but now I can't escape it. What are we doing? What am I doing? I started this because I wanted revenge, because I wanted her to feel the pain she caused me. But now I'm not so sure. What am I really fighting for, and is it worth the cost? The next morning, I make a decision. I call my lawyer and tell him to reach out to hers to accept the settlement offer. It's not easy, and every fiber of my being screams against it. But I know it's the right thing to do. For me, for her, and most of all, for the kids. The news hits her hard. I can tell from the way she looks at me the next time we're in court. She's surprised, maybe even a little relieved. But there's also something else in her eyes, something that looks like gratitude. It's a small victory, but it feels like a step in the right direction. The settlement process is quick, efficient, the way these things are supposed to be. We hammer out the details, sign the papers, And just like that, it's over. The legal battle that's consumed our lives for months is finally behind us. But as I walk out of the courthouse, I don't feel the relief I expected. Instead, there's just a deep, aching emptiness, a sense of loss that I can't quite shake. I return to the house, my house now, and sit in the quiet. It's all mine, just like I wanted. But it feels empty, hollow, like a victory that came at too high a price. I pour myself a drink and sit in the dark, letting the silence wash over me. There's nothing left to fight for, nothing left to prove. I've won, but it doesn't feel like a win. It feels like I've lost something far more important than a legal battle. The next few weeks pass in a blur. I go through the motions trying to find some sense of normalcy, but it's elusive. The kids are adjusting to the new arrangement, but I can see the toll it's taking on them. They're quieter, more withdrawn, and it breaks my heart. I know I did this, that my need for revenge is what brought us here. And now, I'm the one who has to live with the consequences. One night after putting the kids to bed, I sit down and write her a letter. It's not an apology. There's too much water under the bridge for that. But it's an acknowledgement, a recognition of the pain we've both caused each other. I tell her that I'm letting go, that I'm moving on, and that I hope she can do the same. I don't know if she'll ever read it or if she'll even care, but it feels like something I need to do. I send the letter the next day and try to focus on the future. I know it won't be easy, but I have to try. For the kids, for myself. I've spent so long consumed by anger, by the need for revenge, that I've forgotten what it means to live, to really live. And I know I can't keep going like this. Slowly, I start to rebuild. It's not easy, and there are days when the emptiness threatens to swallow me whole. But I keep going, one step at a time. I reach out to old friends, try to reconnect with the world I pushed away. It's a slow process, but it feels good, like I'm finally starting to heal. And then one day, I meet someone. She's different from anyone I've ever known. Kind, understanding, patient. She doesn't ask about my past, doesn't pry into the details of what happened. She just listens, offering support without judgment. It's refreshing, and for the first time in a long time, I feel a flicker of hope. We start seeing each other, slowly at first, but it feels right. There's no pressure, no expectations, just two people trying to find their way in the world. And as the days turn into weeks, I realize that maybe, just maybe, there's a future for me after all. But even as I start to move on, the past lingers. The scars of what happened, the mistakes I made, they're still there, just beneath the surface. And I know they'll always be there, a reminder of what I lost and what I can never get back. But I'm learning to live with them, to accept them as part of who I am. As I drive away from the city one evening, leaving behind the life I once knew, I feel a sense of closure. The road ahead is uncertain, but it's mine to travel. And for the first time in a long time, I'm looking forward to whatever comes next. The court case ends with a settlement neither of us wanted. We both lose more than we gain, but at least it's over. The courtroom is silent when the judge approves the terms, a sterile finality hanging in the air. I sit there for a moment, feeling a mixture of relief and emptiness. It's done. There's no more fighting left to do, no more moves to make. I should feel victorious, but all I feel is the weight of what's been lost. She's on the other side of the room, signing the last of the paperwork. I watch her, trying to remember the woman I married, the woman I loved. But all I can see is the stranger she's become, the person who tore my life apart. Or maybe I'm the one who turned her into this. It's hard to tell where the blame really lies now. We've both been through hell, and it shows. The judge adjourns the hearing, and she finally looks up, meeting my eyes. There's no anger there anymore. No hatred, just exhaustion. We're both tired, drained by the battle that's consumed us for months. She gives a small nod, a silent acknowledgement that it's over. I nod back, unsure of what else to do. There are no words left between us, nothing that hasn't already been said or done. We walk out of the courthouse separately, each lost in our own thoughts. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the steps. I pause at the top, watching her disappear into the crowd. For a brief moment, I consider going after her, saying something, anything, to bridge the chasm between us. But I don't. I can't. There's too much history, too much damage. We're beyond repair. I take a deep breath and head to my car, the reality of what just happened sinking in. It's over, but the scars remain. I feel them, deep and jagged, a constant reminder of everything that's happened. There's no going back, no undoing the choices we made. All that's left is to move forward, whatever that looks like. Back at the house, my house now, I'm surrounded by silence. The rooms feel too big, too empty, filled with echoes of a life that no longer exists. I sit on the edge of the same bed where I first planned my revenge, and stare at the wall. It's strange how a place can feel so different, so alien, once everything changes. This was once our home, a place of love and warmth. Now it's just a shell, a reminder of what's been lost. I think about her, about the last few months, about everything that led us here. The anger, the betrayal, the need for revenge. It all seems so futile now. What did I really gain? A house, some money, a hollow victory that leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. But the cost was everything that mattered. I lost her, I lost us. And in the process, I lost a part of myself. I pour myself a drink, the familiar burn of whiskey, a brief comfort. I've been drinking more lately, trying to drown out the thoughts that won't leave me alone. But it doesn't help. The guilt, the regret, they're always there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the silence to creep in. I pick up my phone and scroll through old photos. Pictures of happier times, of vacations, birthdays, random moments that seemed so ordinary then, but are now priceless. I stop on a photo of the two of us, smiling at the camera, arms around each other. We look so happy, so in love. It feels like a lifetime ago, like those people no longer exist. And maybe they don't. I set the phone down, unable to look at it any longer. It's too painful, too raw. I've spent so much time hating her, blaming her for everything that went wrong. But now in the quiet aftermath of it all, I'm starting to realize that maybe I played a bigger role than I wanted to admit. Maybe my need for control, for vengeance, was what really destroyed us. I shake my head, trying to push the thoughts away. It's too late for that now. What's done is done. But the questions linger, haunting me in the stillness of the night. Did I make the right choices? Did I go too far? Was it worth it? The next morning, I wake up with a hangover and a sense of dread. The house feels even emptier than before, the silence oppressive. I know I need to get out, to do something, anything, to distract myself. So I head to the gym, hoping to burn off some of the tension that's been building inside me. But even as I work out, pushing my body to its limits, I can't escape the thoughts that circle in my mind. I keep seeing her face, hearing her voice, replaying our last conversation over and over. The way she looked at me in the courthouse, the exhaustion in her eyes, it all keeps coming back, no matter how hard I try to forget. After the gym, I drive aimlessly for a while, trying to clear my head. I pass by familiar places, our favorite restaurant, the park where we used to take the kids, the coffee shop where we had our first date. Each one brings back a flood of memories, each one a reminder of what I've lost. Eventually, I find myself at the beach. It's quiet, the waves crashing softly against the shore. I park the car and walk out onto the sand, the cool breeze ruffling my hair. I stand there for a long time, just staring out at the ocean, the endless horizon stretching out before me. It's peaceful, calming, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. As I watch the waves roll in and out, I start to think about the future, about what comes next. I've been so focused on the past, on revenge and anger, that I haven't allowed myself to consider what I really want. But standing here with the salt air filling my lungs, I realize that maybe it's time to start thinking about that. I pull out my phone and scroll through my contacts, stopping on her name. The new woman I've been seeing. She's kind, understanding, everything I should want. But as I stare at her name, I hesitate. Something doesn't feel right. It's not fair to her, not when I'm still so tangled up in the past, not when I'm still haunted by the mistakes I've made. I close the phone and slip it back into my pocket. I need time. Time to figure out who I am now, what I want. Time to heal, to let go of the anger and pain that have consumed me for so long. Maybe one day I'll be ready for something new, something real, but not today. I turn and walk back to the car, feeling a strange sense of clarity. The road ahead is uncertain, but it's mine to travel. I've made mistakes, too many to count, but I've learned from them. And maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to move forward. As I drive away from the beach, I feel a weight lift off my shoulders. It's not much, but it's a start. I know the scars will always be there, a reminder of everything I've been through, but I also know that I can't let them define me. I can't let the past hold me back any longer. I'm ready to start over, to leave the past behind and look forward to whatever comes next. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm okay with that. I'm ready to face it, whatever it may bring. I sit in my car, the engine idling as I stare out at the city I've known all my life. The buildings loom over me, their shadows stretching across the streets like the ghosts of the past. It's been a few weeks since the settlement, and the dust has finally started to settle. But as I sit here on the edge of leaving it all behind, I can't help but reflect on everything that's happened. Revenge. It's a powerful word, one that used to fill me with a sense of purpose, of control. But now all it leaves behind is a bitter taste. I thought getting back at her, making her pay for what she did, would bring me satisfaction. And for a while it did. But it was fleeting, a temporary high that faded as quickly as it came, leaving nothing but emptiness in its wake. I think about the man I was before all this, the husband, the father, the businessman. I was confident, sure of myself, in control. But now after everything, I don't know who I am anymore. I've been so consumed by anger, by the need to win, that I've lost sight of everything else. I've lost sight of what really matters. I grip the steering wheel, my knuckles white, as I replay the last few months in my mind. The lies, the betrayal, the fight for control. I tore apart our lives, her life, in my quest for revenge. But in the end, what did I really win? A house that feels more like a prison, memories that haunt me at every turn, and a heart heavy with regret. I think about her, about the last time I saw her. The way she looked at me, defeated yet determined as we signed the papers. There was no love left between us, no affection. Just two people who had once shared a life, now broken by the choices we made. I wanted to punish her, to make her feel the pain she caused me. But now all I feel is the weight of my own actions. I let out a long breath, the tension slowly draining from my body. I've spent so long chasing after something I thought I wanted, only to realize it was never going to make me whole. The thrill of victory was hollow, a mask that hid the deeper truth. That revenge has left me more empty than ever. As I sit here, I can't help but wonder if I'll ever be able to move on, if I'll ever trust again, love again. It's a daunting thought, one that scares me more than I'd like to admit. But there's a part of me, a small, quiet part, that whispers of hope, that maybe, just maybe, I can find a way forward, that I can learn from my mistakes, from the pain, and build something new. I reach into my pocket and pull out my phone, scrolling through my contacts until I find her name. The woman I've been seeing, she's been patient with me, understanding, but I've kept her at arm's length, too afraid to let her in, too afraid of getting hurt again. But now, as I sit here, on the brink of leaving everything behind, I feel a flicker of something I haven't felt in a long time. A desire to try, to take a step forward, even if it's a small one. I stare at her name for a long moment, my thumb hovering over the screen. Then slowly, I press the call button. The phone rings, each second stretching out, until finally she picks up. "Hey," I say, my voice rough from disuse. It's me. There's a pause on the other end, and I can almost hear her smile through the phone. Hey, she replies softly. How are you? I hesitate, unsure of what to say, but then I decide to be honest, to let down the walls I've built up over the months. I'm I'm trying to figure things out, I admit. Trying to figure out where I go from here. She's quiet for a moment, and I worry that I've said too much, that I've scared her off. But then she speaks, her voice gentle, understanding. You don't have to figure it all out right now. Just take it one step at a time. Her words are simple, but they strike a chord deep within me. One step at a time. Maybe that's all I can do right now. Maybe that's enough. We talk for a while about nothing in particular, just the simple things in life. It feels good, easy, like a breath of fresh air after being trapped for so long. And as we talk, I start to feel a sense of peace, a sense that maybe, just maybe, there's a future for me after all. After we hang up, I sit in the quiet of the car, letting the conversation settle in. I still have a long way to go, a lot of healing left to do, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm on the right path, that I'm finally starting to leave the past behind and look toward the future. I start the engine and pull out of the parking lot, the city's lights flickering in the rearview mirror. As I drive away, I feel a sense of closure, of finality. I'm leaving behind the anger, the pain, the need for revenge. I'm leaving behind the man I was, the man who let his need for control destroy everything he held dear. The road ahead is long, uncertain, but it's mine to travel. And for the first time in a long time, I'm okay with that. I'm ready to face whatever comes next, to take each step forward, one at a time. As I leave the city behind, I feel a weight lift off my shoulders. The scars of the past are still there, a reminder of everything I've been through, but they no longer define me. They're just a part of my story, a chapter in a book that's still being written. And as I drive into the night, the stars shining above, I feel a sense of hope. A hope that maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to trust again, to love again. That maybe one day, I'll be able to look back on all of this and see it not as the end, but as the beginning of something new. The road stretches out before me, endless and unknown, but I'm ready to travel it, ready to leave the past behind and look toward the future, whatever it may hold.